We are nearing the end of the first ever Azure Serverless Conf, and I'm sure our audience are still alive out there. And if you're watching the streaming, I hope you got a lot from almost 20 hours. So this is the last leg, and I'm very excited to introduce our final speakers. Let's have him on. Let's have them on stage. Luis Beltran, Jesus Gil, and Humberto Jaimes. I hope I pronounce all of your names correctly. And you're all streaming from Mexico at the moment. Wow, I would love to go. I would really love to go. And yeah, how are you all doing?
We are quite happy to be here. Thank you very much for the presentation introduction.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we're looking forward to your talk. And this is Building Serverless Automation Solutions, a use case scenario. Stage is yours.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So welcome, everyone, to today's presentation. Thank you for attending the Azure Serverless Conf. My colleagues and I are really delighted to be here and talk about a use case scenario that involves serverless automation technologies, namely Logic Apps and Azure Functions. And there are also interactions with other cloud services, including Azure Cloud Storage, Azure SQL Server, and even Microsoft Teams and Power BI. We will talk about this in the next minutes. And also, well, please prepare your questions, and hopefully there will be time for doing our best to answer them. And also special greetings to our colleagues from Mexico or from America who are joining this session. So allow me to quickly introduce my colleagues, my friends. As it was mentioned, we are from Mexico, although in my case, I am currently based in Czech Republic. So Jesus Gil was an 11-year Microsoft MVP in data platform. Although he's currently now working for Microsoft as a customer engineer data and AI. He's an expert in SQL Server and other Power BI, data analytics, and technologies related. He has also written several books and documentation that is included in official website from Microsoft. Humberto is a 5-year Microsoft MVP in developer technologies. He especially works with Xamarin mobile applications. Also, he is certified in Azure, and he is a really good friend. And finally, my name is Luis. I am also a Microsoft MVP in AI and developer technologies for 5 years. I'm also working with mobile applications with Xamarin, cloud solutions with Azure, and also artificial intelligence. Welcome, friends. Could you say a quick hi to all our attendees?
Hi, everybody.
Thank you, Luis. Hi, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. So they will talk to you in the next minutes. So here, let's quickly go through the agenda. This is the topics that we will be discussing. So first of all, my colleague Humberto will talk about the challenges, about the problem that we are trying to solve by using some serverless technologies and also automation processes. Then, of course, we will propose a solution. We will think, okay, there are some ideas that we would like to cover and how technology can be involved in order to solve this. He will present also the architecture of the solution, what specific technologies and how everything is interacting. After that, Jesus will mention the data definition. Okay, we will use a database, what information we need to collect, and also how we are going to present it in a Power BI feedback dashboard. And finally, I will present the demo. We will run the application, and my colleagues will help me with some also comments. All right, so now Humberto will talk about the challenges. Please, Humberto.
Nope. I'm going to present this challenge.
Okay. Sorry, Jesus, please.
Don't worry. Thank you very much, Godfather, for this great introduction to our session. In a world full of challenges where we have experienced a global pandemic, where the use of communication tools and the teamwork have taken on an unparalleled relevance, we have designed this solution for you. Let's talk about the challenge. First, who is the target audience for these solutions? Mainly students, then for those who organize events for these communities, and later we have endless profiles that our solution can benefit from. What is important to them? Mainly because they want to observe how their career develops. In some countries, in Mexico or in other parts in Latam, it's also required to have evidence that they attended sessions, workshops, events, and etc. Since that make it a differentiator, for example, when wanting to look for a job or a new job, and then the recruiter can see evidence, okay, that they attending the events, the sessions, etc. So the challenge is to have an attendance diploma or another certification, right? But the solution that exists now is all free. And unfortunately, the most common is that the first diploma are free, but in order to deliver diplomas to all attendees, we needed to buy the full solution. Or in other case, we needed invest money to create our out development. On the side of the event organizers, they need to have the feedback of the attendees to be able to make better events, qualify the speakers, or also to know what topics that the attendees want in the following events. In our experience, we have seen that Microsoft MVPs, MLS, using different tools to can get this goal. But the technology that user is not integrated in a full solution. So we trying to pop together is trying to put a puzzle every time that we run an event. The final need is have to the information available to can use in any time. Okay, so could you move the next slide, please? How do we structure our solution? Okay, we try to do an easily and possible easy solution and divide it into four main process. Okay, the first process, we create a serverless solution that process the webinars that run during the day. This is process that run daily and the end on the day and save the information in an Azure SQL database. The second process, we define a set of rules for attendees to earn their diplomas at the end of the event. For example, a rule we defined is that the attendees has been more than 50% of the time of the sessions. This percentage you can change according to your own policy. Okay. The process 3 is always important to have a report where we can view all the information that we have previously saved. And believe it, it's very necessary when you are organize the events. Okay. The process 4, okay, sorry, the 3 is retrieve the feedback, okay, and save this retrieve for later analysis. And the 4, as I say, is the report, okay? Bye. Stop the theory and let's move to Humberto Jaimes, who is going to explain the architecture of our solution. Go ahead, Humberto. We'll listen to you.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Luis. Well, now we are going to talk about the architecture of our solution. The flow is actually very simple. We have an event-based solution where Azure Storage will trigger all the functions that we handle, the information, the attendees data, and everything required to make the solution simple. First, we are going to generate a Teams webinar. This is an option that requires all attendees to register their mails, and also the, then give us some metrics of the behavior of the session. So we have all the information to apply the set of rules that Jesus talked a few moments ago. It is much simpler than live events, but it gives us more control than a normal Microsoft Teams meeting. That's why we are using Microsoft Teams webinars. In our flow, we have some Azure functions. One runs every 24 hours and analyzes which webinars have already finished according to the dates that we configure in the database. And using the Microsoft Graph API, we can obtain the attendance report, where we are mainly interested in mail addresses and the time the attendance was present in our live sessions. This data is stored in a SQL database, and we write some messages in a webinar queue. The webinar queue triggers the second function, and this function receives the ID of the webinar that was processed before, so we can check the attendance of every attendee, and if they stay at least 51% of the session time, the attendee meets the rule that we need to generate their diplomas. So in a different functions, we can generate the image of the diploma, and the image is uploaded to a blob client. Every blob has the attendee IDs in its metadata, and then the last functions, before we stay to apply some login acts, generate the share access signature key, so we can share the blob with the attendees. Then is where the logic apps appear. We use logic apps because they are easy to integrate with Microsoft services like Outlook to send the mails. And the first logic apps takes the data from the database to send all the emails, including the URI of the Microsoft forms for receive feedback and the URI of the diploma. And every time an attendee fills out the feedback form, another logic app is activated to process and store the responses in the database. And later we can generate some reports. Now, Jesus will tell you about the database and how we are creating this data store for our solution. Please,
Thank
Jesus.
you, Humberto. As you saw previously with Humberto, our database is running in Azure SQL. It's a SQL database serverless. We have 4 tables, being the main one, the table called webinar. Okay, we have tables to save the necessary information to be able to follow out with the attendees, generate their diplomas, and save the feedback they gave us after attending any one of the events. All tables have a relationship via the webinar ID field. These tables will be important to later to be able to generate the report in Power BI, which come in the next slide. And Humberto, can you explain quickly the report we call post-conference feedback dashboard? Thanks, Humberto.
Okay.
Could you move the slide, Luis?
Please, Luis. Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Jesus. Okay, before we take a look of the technical stuff and the code, we have this report. For this proof of concept, the report is very simple. The idea is to create a better report in the future with more information. But as you can see, this report weekly show us all the webinars and their attendees, the number of the attendees for every webinar. But I think the most interesting part of this is that it allows us to see a cloud of boards with the most relevant topics of the session. So the people can share us their comments about the sessions. Normally, our events are made up of more than 50 sessions. So have these kind of reports help us a lot to see what is happening in our communities. And now Luis is going to show you the code and the actual services more in detail.
All right.
Go ahead, Luis. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. All right. So we are going to show the solution. You will see some code, but I am taking a few seconds so you can very quickly take a screenshot or picture of this so you can later check the code on your own. All right. So allow me to, here we have the elements, the resources on our serverless automation resource group. So as you can see, there is a storage account, there is a SQL Server database, there are the logic apps that Humberto mentioned, and well, other elements required by Azure functions such as app service plan and some connections to our elements. You can see here the database in second. Yeah. So here we have our tables. Right now we have 2 webinars and no attendees. Everything was, let's say, removed, so it will work in a few minutes when I show or run this demo, right? So, okay, well, yeah, there are 2, but don't mind them. So you will see that these tables will be populated as we run the demo. All right. So here we have our Azure Functions resource, and now I will go to the code that you can also download from the QR code. So in this solution, in this workspace, we have several functions. We start with the webinar attendees processor function, which you can see it's a timer trigger function. Every time at 9 a.m. it runs, but for this demo, I will run it locally on a startup, but it already have the connection to the remote services. All right. So in this code, basically, it looks for webinars which have not been processed. There is a field, webinar status report. In this case, the 2 webinars that you saw are in false state. So after that, we will go through every webinar, and we are going to connect to the Teams graph client. Actually, well, we could have used that, but we are sending a request, let's say manually, by using HTTP client. But of course, we need a token. We have a method to get a token. Here, yes, here. In order for you to access or to obtain information from Office 365 services, you need to set up an application. You need to register an application on Azure Active Directory. In this case, you can see we already have this. And also, there are some API permissions that you need to set up. In this case, you can see calendar read. This is to get all the events that have been scheduled or that are in our calendar. Then online meetings read all allows us to extract live webinars that we have set up and also obtain details from it, such as attendees, the report of attendees that, of course, were in our sessions. There are also important elements. Here. So after we collect this data, we have, we get the online meeting, and then we can get the attendance record of every webinar. One important thing is that we can obtain, for example, how much time a person was in our webinar. You can see duration in seconds and also the attendance interval. Yeah, this is quite nice. There is also a property, total attendance in seconds, which will allow us to later evaluate, okay, was this person at least half of the session? If so, let's generate a diploma. All right, so we go back to our main function, and well, we will insert this information in our database. We have a repository, Humberto said, that project or helper project for that. And after that, we are going to send to the webinar queue. You can see that this is an output for this function. Here we have the queue webinars, all right? So let's run it. As I said, this is a timer trigger, but it is set to run on a start, right? So you will see the information here, and it will search for unprocessed webinars. After that, it will go through each of them, and it will collect the attendees. As it is running in our storage, you will see, okay, well, we have the diplomas. I will go to that a bit later. But here we have our queues. Okay, queue webinars is here. You will see, okay, webinar 1, webinar 6, the IDs. Okay, maybe they were already processed. So I will go to the other one, which is the queue emails. In this case, the attendees that are, let's say, that were evaluated and were for most of the time will be here. These are the IDs of the attendees, right? And this was just inserted, all right? So in our database, if I run this line again, now you will see that there are several members there already. They were inserted just right now. Every attendee also gets a diploma, and okay, you will see here the blobs. Okay, there, and there are the logic apps that we mentioned. When a new message arrives to the emails queue that you saw, we will build an automation that gets the information from the database, because in the queue, it's only the ID of the attendee. So we will prepare the link and also some links, and we will send the email. As you can see in the design, we are collecting, okay, the email, the name of the webinar, the links, right? And actually, you will see in few seconds that I will get the emails, because this queue, this logic apps is processed every 5 minutes. All right. So, well, probably we will not be able to see it, or I can run it on my own. But we will receive the emails at some point. I know we are running almost on time. So allow me to show you. Also, when a new response is submitted, we will insert this information on the on the database, so we can send this information to Power BI. So just very quickly, I will insert some feedback here. I already prepared it, so I submit it. This is our form, and if I go back, I will see that this trigger, insert feedback, just ran. Okay, we are really close to finish. Okay, yes, it is succeeded, 152. And actually, you can also see the emails that just arrived. We are really close to finish. So just a second, because we have a lot of yes, but these emails, I just got them, and you see the information. Okay, feedback and diploma available. Thank you for attending. If I click, I will go to the form. If I click here, I will download the certificate. All right. So yeah, we got a picture. This is obtained from the blob, and this blob container, it's private, but there is a SAS token. So only this person, only the person who got this email can see it, can access it. All right. And well, just finally, Jesus will very quickly show the Power BI dashboard with the responses from the feedback form.
Thank you, Luis. Could you share my screen? Could you switch? Okay, thank you so much. This report is very easy to understand. Here, the most important is first have the information that I say we have for these tables, attend, speak, a webinar, webinar feedback ID. Okay, and this information is very important to can show this visualization. Okay. Also, we have this visualization is an external. This visualization is named Tat Cloud. Okay. Why we need to use these visualizations? Because it's very important. Try to get the most popular words that say in the comments for the feedback and the next topics. Okay. And we say we have this data source, and the data source, as you said, is for an Azure SQL database. Okay. This report will be available in the GitHub report. Okay. So you can download when we are available in the next hours. Okay. So it's very easy. We have 5 visualizations, and all in which you can say we have the number of webinars that you run, a number of attendees per webinar, average rating, popular feedback, and request next topics. Remember, the most important here is have the information that we can show all the info that you needed. Okay, return the information to Luis and Humberto to close this wonderful session to our attendance. Thank you so much. My name is Jesus Gil, Dr. Rudo SQL, and gracias totales. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gracias. Thank you. Excellent, excellent way of closing Azure Serverless Conf. Now we get to see all of the exciting serverless offerings on Azure with your solution. I love seeing the whole solution architecture. You've been working on a lot of different platforms here. So we don't have any questions from the audience, but actually I do just have one. So do you have any advice for how to gracefully handling errors between all this pipeline? Because you're connecting with different APIs and doing all these things. How are you managing all the errors?
Yeah, there are some log analytics that we can check in order to detect any issue. Also, in Logic Apps, for example, you can check what if there was a problem, what was it, so we can very quickly fix it. And yeah, one of the advantages is that we can work, let's say, in local environment before going to production, before pushing it to the cloud. So there are several, let's say, ways to manage the errors.
Well, that's great. So all of the resources that you use, you can run locally, correct?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yes, we can run our tests, and then we will be ready to go.
Makes it so much easier. Barbara, do you have any other questions for the team here?
No, this was really a clear session. A lot coming, a lot of information. I like that QR code. Hope everyone got a screenshot of that.
Well, I took a screenshot as well, so I'd love to see your code. But thank you very much for joining us today. It's been really great. And now we've come to the end of our stream here, Barbara. Great sessions, yeah.
Yeah, some great content here. Really, it's a large platform, the Azure Serverless. you sometimes think like, oh yeah, it's functions and that's it. But there's so much going on with the logic apps and the Cosmos databases and then monitoring everything. And
Yes.
SQL, of course, yeah.
And the best way is really to understand your use case very well and be able to pick the right technology or the right resources for the job. And I think the sessions that we had here will really help you make those right decisions.
Yeah.
So if you're watching or if you miss some of our live stream, you can go ahead and check the website aka.ms Azure Serverless Conf, and also check out the other streams.
Yeah, you can find all the streams that were already recorded, and you can find all the on-demand sessions that are on there.
Thank you very much, everyone. I enjoyed it, Barbara. I hope this is not the last time we're hosting an event, and have a great day.
Yes, thank you, everyone.